Hi, David Rogers here with another post-workout waffle. So the one I posted a couple of days ago got some really good discussions going, so I thought I'd do another one. I've been advertising my online curriculum, and I have some free classes and some various courses available, and the advert I've been putting out there is getting a lot of comments, apart from the obvious racist ones about coronavirus and China, etc., which is, I guess, predictable. There's been a lot of comments like, you can't learn martial art online, this is a con, who can learn martial arts online? It's a fair question, and I thought that was worth a chat. Here's my thoughts on the subject. Can you learn martial arts online? Well, there's a saying in China, it's better to learn from a good book than a bad teacher. So what that means is if you have a good training method and you're studious and you apply yourself, you can get results. Okay, so we've seen the books. In fact, it's something of a cliche in Chinese Kung Fu movies, right? They steal the secret manual. They go off to the mountains, they study the manual, they come back and then they beat the masters and so on. So even in China, there's a tradition of learning, not necessarily directly from a teacher, but you know, it's an exaggeration. So how much can you really learn? Well, if a book is good and it's written well and it's clear and it's at your level or slightly higher, I think you can learn maybe of a set, maybe 50%, 40-50% of a set. That's my observation. Okay. Video is a bit better because a video you can see movement, you can see transitions, and a really good instructional video that will show you various views, front, side, break it down, explain it really well. You can get, I would say, maybe 60-70% of the set. Okay. What about something more modern like an interactive thing? So the student has the videos, they can break it down, I do a manual, I do an MP3, I explain it all, then they send me the video and I look at it and I correct it and I send it back. Really, you can get maybe 80% that way, so you can get pretty good. Now, it depends on the level, and also, of course, some things you can't get from online. You have to feel it, okay? That's indisputable, right? But instead of concentrating on the things you can't get, why not work on the things that you can get? Because there's plenty that you really can get from videos and online and interaction. Example is, we're in lockdown now. I'm supposed to be in China training with my Sifu, but it went pear-shaped. So I'm at my school, I'm in lockdown, but I'm training all the time. I'm sending my Sifu videos, he's sending me corrections, we're talking on social media, and there's interchange going on. I've got his manuals. If anything I'm translating I don't understand, I can ask him. So I'm still making progress. I think the most important thing is that you're putting the time and the effort and the energy, and after all, that's what Kung Fu means, right? So the more you put in, the more you get out. Now, of course, if you're talking something like sparring or real fighting, it's a different matter because you can't get that from solo training. So you need sparring partners, you need people to try your stuff out on. But that's always the case. I mean, even if you're learning, I was fortunate enough to learn one-to-one with a really good Sifu, okay? But that's not going to make me a great fighter, you know? He can't give me the Kung Fu, he can just give me the training methods and the corrections. The actual skill acquisition has to come from my own practice. And that's regardless of where you're learning. So in the old days, people say, oh, it's traditional, very traditional. Yeah, traditional was they go out, get into fights, come back, test their stuff, train again, test it again, go out, get into fights. Okay, you really think that's a good thing to do in the 21st century? Not really. Probably the closest thing we've got today is MMA academies where you can go in and spar, and they have an open sparring policy, which is an awesome opportunity. We never used to have that 30 years ago, because if you went into a school, it was a challenge and it would be serious. But now you can spar, you can put gloves on, you can go on mats, they've got padded walls, padded floors, and you know, you get maybe a few bruises, but wow, what a fantastic chance to test out your martial art and go back to the drawing board, figure out what you've got to work on. So some method of testing was always necessary. That's regardless of whether you learn from a Sifu, in a class, online, from a book, it doesn't matter. You know, it's all theory until you test it out. Okay, but what about the idea of solo training? Again, it's almost a cliche, like even in the Rocky movies, right? He goes up into the Siberian wilderness and trains in the snow and comes back and wins his fight. There's an idea of taking an isolation, which we're all in isolation at the moment, right? So taking that period for intense introspection and practice to bring your Kung Fu up several levels, and that's absolutely possible and it's absolutely true. And with something like online learning, online curriculum, fantastic opportunity. You can break stuff down, you can watch it as many times as you like, you can ask questions and answers. I don't think there's any reason why you can't make really, really, really good progress. Okay, so that's my thinking. The other thing is this: how much can you get from a video, say, if you don't really know very much? And of course, the answer is, if the video is way higher than your level, you're not going to be able to pick it up. So you need some kind of structured curriculum, and you need to train for a while, then learn the next thing. Imagine learning guitar, for example, and you try to learn a grade 8 piece off of YouTube, and it's way, you can't get it at all. But a few simple tunes, and you practice that for a while, and you try something a bit more complicated, and pretty soon you're working your way, progressing up. Look at the opposite way. If you're a grade 8 guitar player and you try to learn a grade 4 piece off of YouTube, you could probably do it in 10 minutes because your level's already higher. In Chinese would say the Kung Fu higher level is already there, so you can practice something easier. Okay? There was an example in the UFC, Korean Zombie. He got the first submission by Twister. I don't know if you guys know, but it's a submission hold which was popularised by Eddie Bravo in Jiu-Jitsu. And when the Korean Zombie had won, the first time ever this movement had been used in UFC, they said, "Where did you learn it?" And he said, "YouTube." Right? He learned it off of YouTube. Now, that doesn't mean if I watched the video on YouTube, Eddie Bravo's video, and then I went into the UFC and I tried it, probably not going to work, right? But if your Kung Fu is already there, you can apply it. And especially true if you've got good people around you to practice with. So my feeling is a lot of Kung Fu, absolutely you can online. If, however, your goal is fighting or self-defense, you need some people to spar with, you need some people to practice with. And then, of course, you're limited because you can only be as good as your sparring partners, right? But for most people learning for self-defense, you don't need very high-level sparring partners because you're not preparing to fight someone that's a very highly trained fighter. You just need your friend to put on some gloves and come at you in a kind of an aggressive way so you can learn to deal with it, keep calm and use your techniques. That's probably good enough for most people. So, in conclusion, some things you can learn, some things you can't, some things even better online, but the most important thing is this: a teacher cannot give you Kung Fu. He can only show you the method. The training is what brings the Kung Fu out. They say in Cantonese, "Lin chut lei." You train it until it comes out. Okay, that can only come from your own discipline and your own hard work. You're not going to get that just because you go to a school and someone else trains online. If I show you a round kick and one person does it on a bag 1,000 times a day, they're going to be better. So that's just the truth of it. So don't worry about it. Let's share knowledge, let's train, let's do our best, and let's continue to improve. And I hope everyone stays well.